Thank you for staying with us. This is Carol Parisi with Champion News Talk Radio. Jack Roser and I are speaking with Tom Morrison, and Tom is going to tell us how we can do a little bit better in Springfield with pension reform and other things.
Well, this sort of
Tom, you had quite an experience going door to door.
I did. You know, we talked about that earlier in the show, just how valuable it was for me to go door to door. For my primary, this was my first run for office. I knocked on close to 6,000 doors.
You wore some shoe leather, huh?
Yeah, I did. But it was extremely valuable because I could get unfiltered comments from people from all walks of life, from teachers, from state workers, from municipal workers, from just regular citizens.
What was the pulse?
The pulse is that the appetite or the ability to pay more taxes has vanished. Mm-hmm. When you have a long-term recession, when you have increasing tax rates at the property tax level, now we've just passed the state's largest income tax. Mm-hmm. You have declining home values. You have inflation on energy and food.
Yes.
Getting back to the economic climate, I talked to literally hundreds and thousands of people who've had their incomes severely impacted mm-hmm. by this recession. Mm-hmm. They've lost health benefits. Mm-hmm. I talked to several people who were tapping into their 401k mm-hmm. just to keep up with their mortgage payment because mm-hmm. they had done an adjustable rate mortgage 4 years ago, and now that rate is resetting at a higher level.
Substantially higher, right.
Combine that with a property tax increase, and people, they've had it up to here.
Beyond up there.
Right,
their
exactly.
Eyeballs, right.
In the break you were talking about all the teachers that you interviewed.
Well, this is why talking to all those people in an unfiltered setting, literally at people's porches, enabled me to get a very wide perspective of the problem we have. And so when I talk to a teacher or I talk to another state worker, usually their question is, what are you going to do to save my pension? I walk 2 doors down and someone says, I can't even afford to live here anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, I've grown up in Illinois, or I've owned this house for 20 years, mm-hmm. and if I wasn't so far underwater on my house, I would be out of Illinois in a moment, in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And so then I walk a couple doors down, talk to another public sector employee, and they say, what are you going to do about my pension or my salary or whatever? And there's a really wide disconnect between someone who works in the public sector and someone who works in the private sector. Huge, huge disconnect.
What were some of these teachers telling you?
Well, they've been contributing to their retirement package. They have an expectation mm-hmm. for what they're going to get in retirement. Mm-hmm. I think it's an unrealistic expectation, though, based upon the state's finances. Billions of dollars of deficit spending every year. Trying to balance, quote-unquote, balance a budget by borrowing more money. That's not balancing the budget. So it's in everybody's best interest to admit what the problem is and fix it. One major fix would be to ask current employees to pay more into the system.
And that was part of this bill that was presented just before session closed.
And when I'm talking,
so that would impact the current employees.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And yeah, it's going to be a hit to their current salary because they're going to be contributing more to the state. Right. But it's going to better secure their retirement. You know, I'm 36 years old. When I talk to a teacher or another public sector employee who's about my age or younger, mm-hmm. how can I promise that person that they're going to get a retirement? I can't. I see the numbers.
And get nothing at the end anyway.
So better to make the changes that will enable them to get 60% of what they were expecting than zero.
Right.
You know that. And is it fair? Is it right? Is it comfortable? Is it happy? You know, no, it's none of those things. But life isn't fair. These are the cards we've been dealt. Let's fix it and let's move on.
The teaching system, and in fact all of the public system, have got to realize that the pensions that they're expecting are 2 and 3 times what anybody is going to get under Social Security. I mean, average pensions, there's some arguments about that, but for teachers that are retiring at age 55, they're going to get pensions in the neighborhood of $50,000 or $60,000 a year. And that is so mountainous compared to what people in Social Security are going to get. The people that are paying, the taxpayers, are paying for these outrageously high pensions occurring very early in life, when these people got a long life ahead of them. That's bankruptcy. So now you've got a system that is going to cause a failure of paying the whole thing. And the ordinary teacher, their enemy really is the union that arranged a system that cannot be perpetuated.
You know, that's a good point, because I also discovered that when I was talking to teachers one-on-one, because as I'm giving them the facts, again, in a very respectful, and we're just having a conversation like you and I are having.
Right. And
it's extremely valuable for an elected official to have that kind of feedback from a voter, from a constituent. And as I'm giving some of the facts about the pension, the retirement plan has been enhanced over the decades, the person I'm talking to almost always says, well, I never heard of that. I never considered that. I never considered that. Well, the union leadership is only giving one side of the story.
Absolutely.
And they're just drumbeating, the state didn't make its payments, the state didn't make its payments. Well,
they did make their payments, but the payments were going up, the requirements were going up way faster than anybody could keep up with.
Well, the reason both sides need to come together on this is that we don't have, I say this frequently, we don't have a border fence around Illinois that forces people to stay here. And people I know have either chosen to leave or been forced to leave. I know both groups of people. I'm talking about employers. I'm talking about just regular employees, people who work for a company and say, you know what, I've had it, I'm moving, I'm out of here. I also know people who've been forced to leave, who because of long-term job loss have been foreclosed or have had their home foreclosed, and they've gone and they've left. They're not taxpayers, they're not contributing to the state's revenues anymore, they're gone.
When we come back from the break, Tom Morrison will continue.